In 2014, about 2 years after I left the Message cult and began my research, I began to engage in a series of conversations with Paul Cain. Cain was instrumental in the formation of several hypercharismatic movements that eventually evolved into the New Apostolic Reformation. But at the time, I simply knew him as Paul Cain, the man that William Branham endorsed as a great prophet and faith healer. In fact, until Cain told me on the telephone, I had no idea that Cain was William Branham's proxy to countries that Branham would have been arrested upon entry, and I had no idea that Cain was even still a part of the Message movement. Our conversations began after Paul Cain received a copy of Peter Deiser's book, Legend of the Fall, which is a critical examination of William Branham that exposed the fraudulent claims made by both Branham and others in the healing revivals. One subject in the book was Branham's hypocritical position against homosexuality from behind the pulpit, while Branham himself was accused of homosexuality, and several of the men working with him were either openly gay or closet homosexuals. Some of the men were predators who used their positions of power to prey upon the men and the boys in the movement. Cain took offense to the statements made by Deiser and contacted me in an attempt to silence Deiser and to suppress the critical information about the movement that I was about to release. In one of the emails that Cain sent to me, he mentioned that he knew William Branham's publicist, Lee Vail, personally, and he was in close contact with him. According to Cain, Lee Vail sponsored his first revival in West Palm Beach. Cain went on to say that Vail moved to Lima, Ohio, and became connected to the cult known today as the Way International. And Cain was not impressed with any of the strange doctrines flowing from the movement at that time. Like Branham, Vail was into horoscopes and other pagan worship and became obsessed with mysticism. Also like Branham, Vail became obsessed with predicting the date in which the world would end, and each time it failed, the cult continued as if it were never predicted. Interestingly, Paul Cain claimed that he was in contact with a justice on the Supreme Court. Based on the information we have at this time concerning Jenny Thomas, it would appear that he was referring to Jenny and Supreme Court Justice Clarence Thomas, and they attended the Vineyard conferences at Hartford. While it sounds far too incredible to be true, our research has confirmed that Branham, Cain, and others in the movement were connected to the international Christian leadership and the National Prayer Breakfast, which several documentaries have examined as a cult influencing high-ranking government officials to lobby for certain actions outside of the public vote.
And it began with a friend of mine. His name's Doug Coe. Anybody heard of Doug Coe? And Doug Coe, I want to read you this. He has been referred to as a stealth Billy Graham. In 2005, Doug Coe was named as one of the 25 most influential evangelicals in the United States by Time magazine. He has counseled world leaders, and he's one of the wise men he's one of the wisest men who lived today. In 1990, at the National Prayer Breakfast, George Bush praised Coe as the quiet diplomat. And so he's a very significant man. He's in his 80s. I've had the privilege of meeting him about 4 or 5 years ago, and Bill and I stayed at his very beautiful I'd say it's kind of an old mansion.
As WilliamBranham.org continues to research the transition of Christian identity into the latter-rain movements and beyond, these and other interesting facts about the hidden secrets of the New Apostolic Reformation will be documented and put onto the website. You can read the emails today from Paul Cain on his research page on the site under Publications. You can learn this and more on william-branham.org.